Welcome back. This video will explain how to work with the Count Reports module in HearForm Pro. Here's how you navigate to the Count Reports area. We're going to click the button here called Reports, and then up here the Count Reports button. These first three columns have the same rows in them, but when I run a report, I can display the report alphabetically by that category name, or I can do it by count, meaning the lowest or the highest first, and then gradually ascending or descending. I'll show you what that means in just a moment. Let's first do a search and isolate a group of patient records before we do our count report. Right now there are 971 records in the system, and I'm going to do, if I just click a button here, let's just do that and show you. Then this shows me, as I zoom in a little bit, that there are 69 January birthdays and all the way down, as you can see. That's because I have my entire found set. Well, I could click this button here, for example, and say I just want Boynton Beach, and maybe I just want a particular clinician. I'll leave all the rest of this alone, but I could say only, I'll just do it and say anything greater than 2015 or things like that. I could put in a date range. As you know from another video, we have operators where we can put in all kinds of things to narrow that down. Now once I've done that, I can perform the find, and that will isolate, in this case, 243 records out of 971. So my report will now be a little bit different. Let's look at it again. And as I zoom in, you see these numbers are different because it's now based on the found set of a smaller number of records. Now that might come in handy if you want to do a search for referral sources. So you could come here and click the magnifying glass and say, I only want things in 2019, or perhaps I want a range from 2010 to 2019, and I only want a particular clinician or office, etc. Well, let's just perform that find, and then I'm going to do something. I have very little referral data in here, I'm sorry, but let's just pull this up and show you what I mean. So in this report, I have 27 physicians and just one walk-in. Now normally I'd have quite a bit more in the way of direct mail and maybe a newspaper ad or radio spot, etc. Open house or May is Better Hearing Month, whatever it is. So let's look a little bit deeper here. And this one tells me specifically which referrals out of those 27, which referrals came in because of which specific doctor, I should say here. So again, imagine your data is quite a bit more extensive. You'll be able to run some really nice reports. Now, how is this different than a referral report in the line item area? Well, the line items, by their very nature, are created when there is a sale or a purchase. So the difference between the reports is the line item reporting, which I just love. It's great. You can show some very nice charts and graphs and all that. But it really is based on people who purchase something. So it's very helpful to know why they purchased, what referral source or detail. But what this does is it's able to give us a referral source count of every patient who's entered into your system, regardless of whether they purchased or not. They're in the system, so even if they didn't purchase, they're going to show up in this report as long as they match the criteria that you've entered over here. Let's continue with a couple of other reports. I happen to like this third column here because although alphabetically it comes in handy from time to time, I kind of like to know, for example, let's look at cities here. I want to see where most of my, as I zoom in, most of my business is coming from. So it's putting Miami not alphabetically, but it's putting it at the top because 182 patients in that found set came from Miami, followed by Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, etc. So if I ran that, I don't want to print it, by the way, but if I ran that by over here alphabetically, then Miami is kind of hidden down there. And again, you may say that, well, that's all right. It's still helpful. But Miami is down in the M's here, and you have to kind of find it and whatever it is. So you can decide which report is best for you. Let's look at just a couple others here. I could say suppliers or suppliers then circuits. And again, it's giving me all of these different products. They're not alphabetical because they're in the 151 Phonax, followed by 64 of these and 39 of those, etc. And of those Phonax, how many were these Nijas or Piconets or Savias or whatever they are. Of course, some of this data is old, but you get the idea. So that's one way to do a series of reports. And let's just look again. We can do this by birthdays if you just want to find how many patients you can expect for a given month, by city, down here by zip code. Let's just do that real quick and zoom in so you can see, okay, cities were helpful, but zip codes might also be helpful to see where's my business coming from this month. Or I could have based it on a particular, let's take a quick look. I could have based it on a referral source like direct mail or something like that. I can also narrow it down first on the home screen and then come here. So for example, I can do a find on this screen and then say I only want in the referral detail area something from May is Better Hearing Month or the Penny Saver or an open house letter or whatever it is. And I'm just going to put an asterisk in there now, but it could be anything you want. Now I've got 28 records out of 971. So those 28, as I go to reports, count reports, and then I run my referral detail or any number of other reports here, then it's going to be based on those 28 records that it found. And there's, of course, 27 here and 1 here. So again, you'll want to narrow down your results in many cases. And that's one way you can do it from the home screen with a variety of different search criteria, or we make it a little bit easier doing it right from here based on the office assigned clinician, primary referral source, the record creation date or the record modification date, all records that may have been modified, meaning maybe something was changed about that record in the last month or something like that. Finally, over to the far right, let's look at these reports. Now these are based on, it says all patients will be counted. So this is not based on your found set. These are very unique and special, but I really like them. So if I wanted to see what physician or what payer my patients are assigned to, I can just click this button and I'll zoom in a little bit again, and I can see Andrew has 2 patients and Daniel has 4, Elizabeth has 5, and you can just see what I mean here. Scroll to the next page here. Dr. Basig has 6 of them or 7 of them, and it's just really maybe a nice way to be able to print out that report. Would you like to? I'll say no, I don't want to right now. Let's look at payers and the same kind of idea. How many of my patients are assigned to payers like as their primary payer, the 21st Century Insurance or some of these others. And again, you can go from one page to the next by clicking these buttons right here. So that report might have some value as well. And again, that's not based on your found set. It's based on all 971 records that are in the system. So the count report might come in handy. Again, I'll emphasize what I mentioned before. One of the differences between this and the line item reports is you can narrow this down to all patients who were created during a period of time, regardless of whether or not they actually purchased. And you still might want to find out, how did you hear about us, regardless of whether they actually bought anything. So keep this count reports screen in mind, and I hope you're able to enjoy it.